Hello, and I'm sorry. I've lost my voice a little bit. I did everything I could, so I hope you can hear me well. When I was preparing my presentation, I had a glance at the previous presentations of the previous rare disease days, and I understood that I could use the same presentations because nothing, almost nothing has changed. Yes, there are new options, new treatments, and of course, there are more children and youngsters who have asked for our foundation's help and have received our support. So therefore, I did update my slides for today. We always put up this slide because we are very often asked what we exactly finance from the Children's Fund Foundation. And there's a list here. And I have to admit that the first bullet point about rare diseases and orphan medicines and gene therapy has been very important, very central, and most resource intensive. So there was talk about those 5 million euros before, and in our opinion, the rest should go to the local governments. And foundations could also help out here because I think there's no need for separate financing for the local governments, except for the pediatric departments of the hospitals and the specific clinics. And what we have done from our foundation is having financed those aids and appliances that are not on the health insurance fund list. So if we talk about a very expensive device, then usually it's at the end of a priority list. And from our point of view, every child is important, and we consider that as a factor when making our financing decisions. So we do deal with expensive medicinal products, but also with different therapies because the fund we have from the state side doesn't really meet the needs. So we need to help out the families. For example, speech therapy, it can be very expensive, or psychological counseling can be even more expensive and not accessible for families. So we try to help out there. Here you can see a table with the applications we have received. And all in all, it's clear that there haven't been big changes in the application numbers, but the sums do vary. And this is mostly due to the orphan medicines. Initially, we supported many different things, smaller things. So we have had 50-50 cost sharing in many cases, which many families can afford. We do support prescription glasses, etc., but they cannot be compared with orphan medicines, of course. So we can see the difference between 2017 and the last year. It was in millions, whereas back then it was a couple of 100,000. And here you can see some very expensive medicines, some examples. And in our opinion, we don't have any solutions in this field because the other aspects are, of course, important as well. We have to help out the families, but these are the most pressing issues, the biggest problems that the families just cannot afford, no matter their income. So here the burden for the state is the biggest as well. In 2015, we got two applications for the treatment of Duchenne muscular dystrophy for Translarna, and it was a really painful experience. And I've also um, marked them in red because we were not able to finance these cases because our budget didn't even reach the treatment for one of the children. So we didn't make empty promises, and unfortunately, we couldn't help them. And Eve knows as well that the condition of these children is awful. They're in a wheelchair. They are succumbed to the disorder, basically. And before that year, we didn't really deal with this kind of cases. So it all started in 2015. But what I wanted to show here in this table uh, is also the support we get from the municipalities, because we always tell the families to turn to the municipalities as well, because they're the first ones that should help their residents. And here you can see how much a municipality allocated or was willing to allocate funds to help out these children. And this is the fourth column in the table. I would like to stress that we have done a lot of work, had held a lot of meetings. Uh, Overall, I think those meetings are pointless, but we still attend them and try to have a constructive debate to explain that families with rare diseases cannot be handled like regular families with diseases that need help. They are a separate category, but this issue is still unsolved today. Then in 2018, we had two different diagnoses, but the treatment was the same. One of the families have left Estonia by now. We helped them out, but it was too much of a burden for the mother, not knowing if they would have the treatment assured next month and future. So they moved to Finland and they live there also today. And in the same year, a girl from Tartu, the city in southern Estonia, if I recall correctly, she was 17 back then, but in the same hospital, there was another girl that was 1 year younger, and she needed the same treatment, actually. And when the first family left Estonia, then the health insurance fund decided that they would reimburse this medicine, but only for the first diagnosis, not for the other diagnosis. So again, the girl next door in the same hospital didn't receive this treatment, and she was actually taken to intensive care. She needed another kidney. Finally, she made it out, and with our help, she got this medicine, and she got also a new kidney. And today, she leads a normal life, and she's doing very well. Then in 2019, this is a very famous case in Estonia, the Annabel case with Solgensma, and a young man called Aimar. I think he was 11 or 9 years old, and his brother was 7 years old. So they were diagnosed early in their childhood, but there was no medicine, and the medicine became available when they were already adults. And usually we ask help from our gene department, but this time it was the other way around. Our genetics department came to us saying that there's treatment available, but the cost is very high. It's 42,000. And our board went over our own limits. So we ignored that ceiling and we helped Aimar with his treatment. And maybe Katrin can give more details afterwards, but as far as I know, at 25 years of age, he wasn't able even to lift his head from the pillow, but today he can manage in his daily life and he's doing very well, actually. So this gene therapy really had an effect on him. And the third application is about the same girl next door in the hospital. Moving forward to 2020, the medicine called Epidiolex wasn't very expensive, but Dr. Valentin Sander turned to us saying that there was a patient and with that patient nothing worked. So we were asked for help with this medicinal product, and we decided to help them out. Fortunately, health insurance fund decided to continue with this help with 2 further patients, one of which is unfortunate not among us anymore. I don't remember exactly how long he received the treatment. The outcomes were actually very good, so the health insurance fund agreed to continue supporting it themselves. Now, octreotide. This was a very specific case, and again, unfortunately, that child is not among us anymore. This is really an out-of-the-box case, really a specific case, and we helped that small girl out. And now the third case was travel case where the patient had already traveled to Germany for a second opinion and received a severe cancer diagnosis, and we decided to cover the first expenses. And together with the health insurance fund, we brought that boy back to Estonia for treatment. And I wanted to go beyond the figures and the tables. I wanted to show you the children involved. Pavel went to Germany. Maru, we couldn't unfortunately help. Trevor was the one that needed Epidiolex. He's a very smart boy. And Katerina is the girl next door that didn't fit the proceeding rules. And then in 2021, we already received 4 applications. Again, you can see the 0 euros under some municipalities in the fourth column. Now, Feriprox here. This is the case of Lisette. Maybe you know it. They were also on TV telling their story. Her family told their story and they struggled with getting the right diagnosis and finding out whether there was a treatment or not. And this was the moment where we see that the competence centers for rare diseases was really crucial for those families to ensure that the patient journeys were acceptable and efficient. And we realized that this was an ultra rare diagnosis, but we had two girls that simultaneously got the same diagnosis. And until today, we are supporting them with their treatment. Then we have the case of Desiree with SMA type 2. And I would say that thanks to her family, all children up to 19 years of age have now access to treatment. And they didn't really have any alternatives, so they just have to fight for it. And here I would like to say a couple of words about the municipality of the town of Rakvere. When we turned to them, they said that everybody asks for money, football teams as well. So they didn't allocate any money for it. Now you can see that the list gets longer year by year. Next year, 2022, we already received 16 applications. Some are repetitive, but in the municipality of Kiili, with the case of SMA type 2, this is the case of Endra. Everybody knows that case here in Estonia. And they fight it for the chance for making SMA treatment available to all youngsters. And SMA type 2 was initially excluded. But then there was another girl living with SMA type 2. And thanks to the fight of Hendra, I would say that actually up to 25 years of age, other youngsters got the treatment as well. And I really hope that in the last presentation of today, we can get an answer to the question of where do the criteria come from. Since October last year, treatment for SMA has been available for youngsters up to 25 years of age, but those that are 26 or older cannot get the treatment. And they say it's because it's ineffective, but not what we have seen. Then we have a youngster born in 2004. He needs miglustat. This is a very rare case. Maybe in the next 20 years, we could see another case. And that's why we cannot expect the pharmaceutical companies to offer solutions if it's one person every 20 years on average. So I'm convinced that the criteria has to be thoroughly analyzed and modified to make orphan medicines available on our market is a big fight, but we shouldn't be the only ones fighting. The doctors shouldn't be the only ones fighting. Our health insurance fund has the possibility to fight for these possibilities, but they have excuses every time. Firstly, what the father of Alexander said, that there's no good cost efficiency correlation. And then there's also referrals to our legislation because the EMA has given their recommendation already. We need to have separate proceedings in Estonia. We've heard that these proceedings should take up to 2 hours, but actually, we are talking about 1061 days before the medicine makes the list. And we don't really know why it takes so long because we are not part of these negotiations and proceedings. Now, achondroplasia. Last year, we heard one of the stories of one of the families. So they have hindered growth in this case, and we have several cases where we have treatment, and when initially the pharmaceutical company said that only a couple of centimeters would be gained, then we've actually seen up to 7.6 centimeters per year of gaining height. So we've seen much better results. But again, the correlation numbers are not acceptable for the institutions. Now, the last case. We always say that we always have a child for the most expensive medicine in the world. And here, these 2 millions is orientative price because it's been said actually that it's 2.8 million pounds. And unfortunately, we had a child with such a late diagnosis that they weren't accepted to the gene therapy. So it was an awful case. She was stuck in our educational system. There's no competency, no knowledge to handle such cases. So the child was referred constantly to different specialists. And when they finally reached the Center of Rare Diseases, and that was by a chance because the mother had come across a piece or a story about the center. Then they got the diagnosis very fast, but unfortunately, it was too late. It's a very sad example indeed. I don't unfortunately have time to go into detail. We have so many different stories, but Kaftrio and Kalideco, I don't know if it's Kalideco, Kalideco. I would like to thank Alexander's father. I have little to add because the best way to illustrate these cases is the stories by the family. But I have here feedback from families with cystic fibrosis. My team prepared it for me, and it's from recent days, recent weeks. And the feedback says clearly that the treatment with Kaftrio has changed the lives of those families overnight. And yet, this medicine is not reimbursed in Estonia. And I don't know if it's realistic to negotiate on that price of 100,000, because in Europe the price is much higher. In my opinion, as one cystic fibrosis patient said on a TV interview, it will be broadcast soon. They said that we have to find a solution urgently. We have run out of time. Many children have been waiting for this decision to be made. And when we found out last autumn that the negotiations have stopped, they have been basically finalized by then, terminated, then we saw that more and more people, more and more families turned to us, and we asked the practitioners to make a priority list. I know it sounds bad, but we wanted to have an overview of critical cases that we should take over, that we should support, and currently we're supporting 7 patients with cystic fibrosis. More about Duchenne muscular dystrophy. I wanted to share the example of Kevin. Kevin, he was on TV yesterday. Maybe you saw it. He's a very nice little guy. And I'm happy that we can at least help him because the medicine is really expensive, but it is crucial for Kevin. And I really hope that our donors help us out because we are not really hopeful that it could be making the list anytime soon because it doesn't meet any of the criteria. And lastly, the case of Kevin Sander, a young boy with an urgent need of treatment, as Dr. Oige told us. In 1 month's time, he would become blind, so we had to act really fast. We're a small country. Is it really possible that we cannot come up with specific ways to approach the cases when it's life-threatening to the child? We fought with the health insurance fund until the end of the year. It was quite ugly in the last phases. Now, in theory, they are financing it, reimbursing it since January 1st this year, but in practical terms, the agreement with the pharmaceutical company was reached in Christmas time. So to be realistic, 1st of January is not achievable. So we've actually used our own funds to keep helping Kevin Sander out because otherwise the treatment would have stopped temporarily. Next, here you can see some good examples from our cooperation with the health insurance fund. We've had delivery problems, and we also had the same issue with Sabril Gigabec. And many families turned to us. We are talking about children with severe disabilities. Gigabec is much more expensive than other treatments, and we turned to the health insurance fund for help, and they made the decision very swiftly. And Sabril might be also available again now. The difficulties were maybe overcome, but this is a good example. But that when there's a will, there's a way. And again, I wanted to show you more children. We are not talking about figures. These are real children. We are talking about on the left achondroplasia cases. And now they are growing very well with the treatment they're receiving. Then Sergei on the right, the very rare case where the next diagnosis will probably come in 20 years. And Lisette and Maribel are the 2 girls that have a very severe genetic disease and it really books very fast. Really nice children, all of them. Now, last year we received 20 applications already. We can't even put them on one slide. There are so many different problems, but in black you can see the different treatments that we are supporting, and we have decided in our foundation that if the treatment is not functioning, then we would stop financing it. And every 3 months, the cases are re-evaluated. But we haven't seen even a one case where the treatment is not responsive. So even brand new and innovative treatments work better than expected. And sometimes the evaluations we get from the practitioners beforehand, there they are a bit cautious about the potential outcomes. And now the next slide. Again, this is a very sad story. The Rett syndrome and the treatment. In March last year, it got the market authorization in the US. And many families have been going on keeping that in mind, thinking about maybe someday receiving this treatment. You can only imagine the situation. So the medicine is available in the US, but the company has no interest at all to make it available here in Estonia because the market is too small. But as said before, I hope that the last speaker can tell us about the efforts the health insurance fund has made in order to make trofinetide available also in Estonia and improve the lives of those children. We have here Elli, Johanna, Frank, and Franka. These are only 3 examples of children waiting for this medicine to reach Estonia. No, talking about this year, we have such a high number of applications that I didn't even prepare a table. Here are only some examples. Firstly, the example of Kaia. For us, all the cases are special and emotional because we are in contact with the families, we listen to their stories, we meet them, we try to help them out. It was on December 20th that we should have received Kaia's story, but unfortunately it went into junk mail. When we finally saw it in our mailbox, then we contacted Dr. Savisaar quickly, asking for help, asking for additional information, but we got a very sad reply. Namely, in the beginning of this year, Kaia was taken to the hospital with very low expectations of recovery. And this is very similar to the case of Maria Teder. She's in judicial proceedings trying to fight for her rights, and I read the ruling where the health insurance fund says that the treatment is insured, but it's not true. We are not talking about modern treatments. We are not offering any treatment if there is another alternative means which is efficient and really helps the patients. Our board made a decision in only 1 hour. We had contacted the specialist before to see if there was anything else we could do for Kaia, and the only answer we got was that we should try out the medicine. But when we made the decision, it turned out that no vials of the medicine were available in Estonia. And thank you, Vladimir, for helping us out. So we called Vladimir, Alexander's father. Do you still have a little bit of this medicine to help out Kaia that needs this medicine urgent? This is what we asked him back then. And he said, of course, I will take it to the hospital right now. And the doctor received him, and by the same evening, Kaia got the medicine. And 5 days later, we received a letter from Kaia. It's here on the slide. It's actually only an extract. We will definitely publish the whole letter, but what we can say that 5 days later, there was hope. It wasn't that life-threatening anymore. Now, Kaia is 25 years old. Is she too old for a treatment? I think not. Microphone, please. And then our children receiving treatment for cystic fibrosis. Nora-Liisa has received the treatment for the longest. She does different kind of sports, activities. And on February 21st, her mother wrote us that she's doing very well. And that it's strange that they don't have to be contacting their doctor constantly. It's surprising. After starting the treatment with the medicines, she's feeling much better. The lungs are functioning much better. So according to the description is that she leads a normal life, participating in different activities, playing basketball, singing in a choir, spending time with her friends, waiting for school holidays to sleep in and spend time with her friends. Now, the case of Maria. It's quite recent that she started her treatment. Again, this was another example that we had to take the product very quickly to the hospital because she was in a very bad state. And according to her mother, Maria always talks about the possibility of having to say goodbye any moment. I think she's 14, and it is horrendous that such a young girl has to say something like that to her parents. We do have a treatment for her. And thanks to the Children's Foundations, she is receiving the treatment. And a week ago, we talked with her mother. And she almost knelt down. She was kneeling to thank us for the help because it has really turned Maria's life around. Now, Kevin, that was on TV last night, he was able to tell her his own story, but I wanted to share his example with you anyway. So this is a specific case because he does have support even though he's living in a foster home and has foster siblings. And at first, when we heard about him from his doctors, there was uncertainty about the effectiveness or efficiency of the treatment because Kevin was indifferent. He didn't really want to live. He didn't expect anything from life. How can you treat a 12-year-old boy like that. But now things have changed, and in the interview yesterday night, he said that his doctor is very smart. And he especially likes his doctor Eve Õiglane because they can tell jokes to each other. She understands his jokes. So I would really thank all the specialists and practitioners supporting these children. Those practitioners that work with rare diseases do a lot of overtime. So truly, we are really thankful for that. And last but not least, always I've told the story of Cassandra in every conference I attend. She was eager to receive her treatment, but the proceedings took 10 years. She had a very rare skin disease. She didn't need much. It was over-the-counter medicines that she needed, but in big amounts. So it was 1,200 euros per yearly, approximately. And the family asked for some financial help because if it's an ongoing need, it's not affordable. The proceedings continued and continued until, unfortunately, Cassandra couldn't keep on, and she's not among us anymore. And there's ongoing research on gene therapy, and she had actually made the research group. So these 1,200 euros per month, they were crucial. I'm really sorry, Cassandra. Thank you, Siiri.